Yeah, so the current Vietnam Red Cross activities focus on 4 key areas. The first area is around disaster preparedness and response and reducing the impact of disasters on communities in Vietnam. The second area of focus of Vietnam Red Cross is to provide social care for vulnerable people in Vietnam. The third area is around health and prevention of disease and helping the communities to improve their public health both in the household level and in the communities. And the fourth area of work for Vietnam Red Cross is to improve the spirit of humanitarian activities in Vietnam, especially the youth and the volunteers in Vietnam Red Cross. And in most of these activities, the Vietnam Red Cross has an extensive coverage because it works in 63 provinces in Vietnam, and in all these provinces it works in all the districts and in most of the communes, so that the reach that it has is tremendous. And I would like to emphasize perhaps just the 2 key activities within the scope of the current work. The first is the campaigns that the Vietnam Red Cross does under its work of social care, and these are the campaigns, for example, Debt for Poor, which reaches millions of people every year, and because it is on the special occasion of usually Lunar New Year every year, it specially reaches out to the most vulnerable people in the communities and provides them with the special gesture of care within the community to say that the people have not forgotten about them, and that the Red Cross is there to help them overcome their difficulties and to protect them from any adverse impact of whether be it a disaster or be it any public health emergency. The second work within the same campaign that I want to focus on is around the work of campaign where one individual and one organization can help another person who is in need. And this campaign, which has been going around, which has been now in operation for the last 4 years, has again helped more than few million people in Vietnam and has captured, has mobilized resources more than $100 million in the last 4 years. And this has been able to improve the spirit of humanitarian activities within the Vietnamese community, but more important, it has been able to highlight how the power of humanity that lies with the Red Cross can be utilized in Vietnam. Okay, so now the priorities for 2020.
Câu 2 là anh đánh giá
về ưu tiên.
Ưu tiên. Từ từ, ok. Từ từ lấy bố cụ khác được không? Bố cụ khác. Từ cái này. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, action.
Okay. The new strategy for Vietnam Red Cross, which was adopted in January last year, focuses on the next 10 years and how to develop both the work of Vietnam Red Cross, but also to develop its own capacities over the next 10 years to help the people of Vietnam in overcoming the impact of disasters or disease. And this strategy that has its slogan or campaign around 3 key areas. One is to changing minds, and by changing minds it means that to influence the behavior of people and communities to overcome their own difficulties. The second profile is to raise profile, which means to improve the capacity of Vietnam Red Cross to be able to influence people who have means to contribute to humanitarian activities in Vietnam. And the third, which is to protect lives, is the primary mandate of the Red Cross, which is to save lives when disasters happen or conflict happens or disease threaten the lives of people in any community. So those three are the key emphasis of this new strategy in the next decade. And within these three key areas of emphasis, the strategy outlines 7 priorities for the Vietnam Red Cross to consider in its work over the next 10 years. The first 4 of these priorities are focused on how Vietnam Red Cross will work to help people in Vietnam. And the last 3 priorities are focused internally within the Vietnam Red Cross on how it will structure and strengthen itself to improve its work to help the people of Vietnam. So the first 4 priorities that the strategy outlines are first, to improve the disaster management capacity and to help people affected by disasters and climate change in Vietnam. The second is to provide more social care to people who are getting marginalized in the Vietnamese community, especially as the economic growth take place and the disparity between the people who have means and people who do not have means increases. The Vietnam Red Cross will focus on how to improve the lives of people who do not have significant means. The third priority is focused on improving the health and care, and especially focused on improving the health of people affected by either the road safety, especially as we know the people as the Vietnam is improving, the people of Vietnam are more and more dying on roads. So Vietnam Red Cross will work towards improving the conditions of safety on road, and will focus on improving the road safety. The fourth area of emphasis would be to mobilize the power that exists within the Vietnamese community for humanitarian activities, and it would try to influence the values that it needs to have in the next generation for providing humanitarian assistance. So these are the 4 key activities that it will provide to the population of Vietnam. The next 3 priorities are focused internally, and the first among them is to improve the capacity of its own structure. So Vietnam Red Cross has structure at various levels, and it will try and strengthen the capacity of this structure. The second priority internally is to improve the capacity to fundraise, to increase the structures and mechanisms to attract resources within the Vietnam so that it can help more people. Can we stop? I think I got it wrong. I forgot the blood, right?
Yeah.
Action.
And the fourth priority of Vietnam Red Cross is to emphasize the need and the importance of blood and voluntary blood collection in Vietnam. As we know, as the migration is taking place from the rural to urban areas, the need for more blood to be collected voluntarily for the hospitals in Vietnam is increasing, and the Vietnam Red Cross strategy therefore articulates for the next 4 years, for the next 10 years, how the Vietnam Red Cross will be able to fulfill this demand that will exist in the society. So those were the 4 key priorities that Vietnam Red Cross will have to help the people of Vietnam. The first priority to help to itself in terms of building its own structure would be focused on building the humanitarian values in the Vietnamese society. And there the focus of Vietnam Red Cross effort would be to work with the youth and the volunteers and instill in them a voluntary and a humanitarian culture, so that the next generation growing up also will have the humanitarian values that it needs to have to provide humanitarian assistance.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Xíu, cho một nốt có chị ra quá hỏi hỏi đi xong.
Bảo rồi anh sẽ diễn rồi diễn thôi.
Rồi em ơi, bắt đầu. Bắt đầu đi.
Action.
So one thing that if you would ask me to highlight within the strategy 2020 of Vietnam Red Cross strategy, I would like to emphasize the focus on volunteering. As you know, voluntary service is one of the fundamental principles of the Red Cross, Red Crescent movement. And the voluntary spirit has been active within the Vietnamese society for a long time. And we see this in the activities that the Vietnam Red Cross already does. For example, Tet for Poor, one humanitarian campaign that the Vietnam Red Cross has. But despite all this scope that the Vietnam Red Cross has, the number of volunteers, and especially the number of active volunteers that the Vietnam Red Cross has, is not in comparison to its size and its scope of activities. And so the strategy rightfully identifies this challenge that the National Society faces over the next 10 years, and focuses to change itself from the community all the way to national level, to improve both the number of volunteers that the National Society would have, but also to focus on the quality of volunteers. And so over the next 10 years, if there's one message that the strategy sends to all its people in the society, whether be it a volunteer, a member, or a staff, at provincial level or at a district level or at a national level, it tells them to concentrate their effort to increase the number of volunteers that society has, and to utilize them more in its activities and the services that it delivers to the vulnerable people.